You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. And as always, I apologize for all of my Hebrew pronunciation. I know I'm going to pronounce Hebrew words wrong, so instead of getting annoyed, I give you permission to laugh at how I say things. Today's topic is Lag BaOmer. If you've ever thought Judaism needs a holiday with giant bonfires, archery practice, and haircuts, congratulations, you found it. Lag BaOmer is the 33rd day of the Omer, the 7-week count between Passover and Shavuot. Most of those 49 days are semi-mourning, marked by customs like no weddings, no music, and no haircuts. But on Lag BaOmer, the sadness pauses, and people go full-on party mode. Think of it as a surprise holiday that pops up in the middle of spring, like someone hitting the unmute button on joy. In Israel, it's famous for bonfires lighting up the night sky, kids running around with bows and arrows, and families barbecuing into the wee hours. Abroad, it's smaller, but still fun. Lag BaOmer is like a Jewish block party with spiritual backstory and lots of smoke. So why the sudden celebration? Lag BaOmer is linked to two big stories. First, it's tied to Rabbi Akiva, a famous sage in the 2nd century CE, whose students were struck by a plague during the Omer period. Tradition says the plague ended on the 33rd day, so Lag BaOmer became a day of relief and joy. Second, it's associated with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a mystical rabbi who, according to legend, revealed deep secrets of the Torah and authored the Zohar, the central text of Kabbalah. He passed away on Lag BaOmer, but instead of being mourned, his death is celebrated as a day of light because he revealed spiritual wisdom. Combine those stories, and you get a holiday that mixes gratitude for survival, reverence for mysticism, and good old-fashioned community joy. It's part history, part legend, part bonfire excuse. And let's be honest, who doesn't like a holiday with built-in campfire vibes? The bonfires are the most famous Lag BaOmer tradition. In Israel, kids start collecting wood weeks in advance. Every scrap of cardboard, old chair, or wooden pallet they can drag becomes bonfire fuel. By the night of Lag BaOmer, parks and empty lots glow with towering flames as families gather around with food, guitars, and marshmallows. The fires symbolize the light of Torah and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's mystical teachings, but they also tap into humanity's universal love of fire. Adults debate the safest way to stack logs, kids run wild with sparklers, and somewhere, a group of teenagers inevitably sets off an overly ambitious blaze. The air fills with smoke, the smell of grilling, and the sound of laughter. Abroad, where giant bonfires aren't always practical, communities light smaller fires, use torches, or even swap flames for glow sticks. Either way, the vibe is the same: warmth, light, and joy in the middle of the Omer. Another quirky Lag BaOmer tradition is archery. Why bows and arrows? Some say it commemorates Bar Kokhba's revolt against the Romans in the 2nd century, when Jewish rebels fought for independence. Others say it's tied to legends about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when his students had to hide in caves. Either way, kids today don't care about the details. They just know Lag BaOmer means toy bows and arrows, target practice, and pretending they're in some ancient rebel army. Parks in Israel fill with kids running around with plastic archery sets, while parents try not to get poked. It's part of the holiday's playful side, a reminder that Judaism isn't always solemn. Sometimes it's just fun. The archery might symbolize survival and resistance, but for kids, it's basically the Jewish Hunger Games minus the dystopia. Add in bonfires, and Lag BaOmer starts to look like Judaism's unofficial summer camp kickoff. Lag BaOmer is also famous for haircuts, specifically for 3-year-old boys. It's traditional in many communities to give boys their first haircut, called an upsherin, on Lag BaOmer. The most famous place for this is Meron in northern Israel, at the tomb of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Tens of thousands gather there, with music, dancing, prayers, and barbers working overtime. The atmosphere is a mix of pilgrimage and festival, deeply spiritual for some, a wild carnival for others. Parents beam as their toddlers get their first big boy haircut, often leaving the side curls called payo. For families, it's a milestone wrapped in communal celebration. And for the kids? Well, some smile, some scream, but all of them become part of one of Judaism's most colorful traditions. Outside Israel, smaller ceremonies happen in synagogues or homes. but Lag BaOmer remains the go-to day for this rite of passage. Food, of course, finds its way into Lag BaOmer celebrations. In Israel, families set up barbecues alongside their bonfires, grilling kebabs, chicken wings, and hot dogs late into the night. The smoke mixes with laughter and music, creating an atmosphere that's half holiday, half neighborhood block party. In some communities, picnics are the main event. Think pita, hummus, and watermelon, with kids running around in fields. The food doesn't carry symbolic weight like matzah or latkes. It's just about being together, outdoors, enjoying spring. Some people say the simplicity of Lag BaOmer food is the point. After weeks of somber Omer restrictions, the holiday is about cutting loose, eating well, and enjoying life. And while roasted marshmallows aren't traditional, try telling that to the kids with sticks over the bonfire. Lag BaOmer proves once again that no Jewish holiday is complete without food, even when the main ritual is just a really big fire. Spiritually, Lag BaOmer carries themes of resilience and light. The plague that ended on this day symbolizes survival after loss, while Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's teachings represent wisdom, shining in dark times. The bonfires symbolize light overcoming darkness, while the bows and arrows hint at struggle and resistance. Together, the traditions weave a story of Jewish persistence. Even in mourning periods, joy breaks through. That's why Lag BaOmer is a break in the otherwise somber Omer count. It reminds Jews not to get lost in sadness, but to find sparks of hope along the way. It's a holiday about balance, grief and joy, struggle and celebration, memory and fun. Whether you're deep into Kabbalah, into Jewish history, or just into roasting hot dogs by the fire, Lag BaOmer offers a way to connect. It's proof that even small holidays can pack a big spiritual punch, with extra sparks, literally. In modern Israel, Lag BaOmer has a cultural impact that goes beyond religion. Schools often close, youth groups organize bonfire parties, and cities prepare for the massive smoke clouds drifting across the sky. Environmentalists have even started campaigns encouraging smaller, shared bonfires to reduce pollution. The holiday has become a rite of passage, with kids bragging about how much wood they collected or whose fire was biggest. Pilgrimages to Meron draw huge crowds, turning the site into one of the largest annual gatherings in Israel. Street vendors sell food, music blares, and the mix of spirituality and chaos feels uniquely Israeli. Outside Israel, Jewish communities keep the holiday alive with barbecues, picnics, and kids' games. It may not have the same national vibe, but the joy translates anywhere. Lag BaOmer has proven adaptable, blending ancient legends with modern traditions, and always keeping fire, both literal and metaphorical, at its core. Lag BaOmer also highlights the rhythm of the Jewish calendar. Coming between Passover and Shavuot, it interrupts a season of restraint with a burst of joy. The Omer period is like spiritual spring training, counting the days from liberation, Passover, to revelation, Shavuot. But too much discipline can wear you down. Lag BaOmer arrives as a breather, a reminder that joy is part of preparation too. It's a small holiday, sure, but it plays a big role in keeping balance. It says, take a break, light a fire, sing a song, eat something grilled, and remember that resilience is built not only on rules, but also on joy. That's the genius of the Jewish calendar. It alternates between solemnity and celebration, between fasting and feasting, between mourning and dancing. Lag BaOmer may not be as famous as Hanukkah or Passover, but without it, the Omer season would feel incomplete. So, that's Lag BaOmer in about 10 minutes. The holiday of bonfires, bows and arrows, haircuts, barbecues, and joy. It's a quirky mix of mysticism, history, and neighborhood fun, with kids wielding toy weapons while adults guard the kebabs. It commemorates survival, celebrates light, and sneaks joy into a season of restraint. Whether you see it as honoring Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, remembering resilience, or just a great excuse for a fire, Lag BaOmer brings people together. Thanks for joining me for this whirlwind tour of Lag BaOmer. Stick around for the next episode, where we'll explore another Jewish holiday in about 10 minutes.